Okay, Thomas,
Thomas Mulsbury, present.
Austin Sanders,
Present.
Dave Fagnan,
Present.
All right. Also like to introduce, we have Mike Schrader from Ty and Bond and Greg Nodelman from the DPW. And we have a few other people in attendance that we'll introduce as we get to that. 5:05, I'm going to open the meeting now. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, subsection 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Easthampton Board of Public Works will be conducted via remote participation. I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting of the Board of Public Works remotely via remote participation for June 17th, 2020. Anybody like to second that?
Second the nomination. Second.
All in favor of opening the meeting?
Thomas Salisbury. Now, do we have?
Yep. Yes.
Austin Sanders,
Yes.
Dave Fagnan,
Yes.
All right. The first item on our agenda is public speak. If any of the members of the public would like to speak to an item not on the agenda, you may do so now to the board. All right. Item number 2 that we have is Mayor Speak. Would you like to speak to anything today, Mayor, to the board?
Yes, please.
All right, you have the floor.
Thank you. So with all that's going on with the Board of Public Works and Public Works in general, I would like to humbly suggest to you as the chair and to the board itself to schedule work sessions, which aren't public meetings, but they're exactly as described. They're work session. With the amount of data and decisions before the board and only a 3-member board, it's hard to discuss anything without a quorum or violating a quorum. So I would, I throw out as a suggestion, other committees have done this to work through very, specific issues or what we're looking at here. So I would throw that out as a suggestion, and I'm more than happy to work with the board to set that up appropriate under open meeting laws.
Yeah, I would welcome that, because that has been a constraint over the past year, is how to discuss anything publicly without, a 2-week
Right.
notice and all that sort of thing. I was not aware of that mechanism. So like I said, we're all new to being in public service. So any provision of the open meeting law that we can take advantage of and expedite, brainstorming and deliberation that we can then bring to meetings and act on would be
Right.
So if you could provide any information on that, or where a resource would be that I could look into that.
Yeah, I thought it's on the Attorney General's website in the open meetings section.
Okay.
Flexibility with the in the post or the current COVID-19 environment. So I want to make sure that I get the right information, and then we'll forward it to you, Chair.
That's great.
Excellent. Okay, that's all I have for the evening.
That is a valuable contribution.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody on the board or anyone else have any questions for the mayor regarding that before I move on? All right, next item, agenda item, is to approve the June 3rd meeting minutes. Were the other members able to review those?
I was able to review.
All right.
Yes, I reviewed.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve as provided.
Second the motion to review as provided.
All right.
okay, Thomas Roll call, Thomas Salisbury,
Yes.
Austin Sanders,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. All right, the next item on the agenda, which I think is why most everyone has joined us this evening, is to review rate and fee options to address the Department of Public Works FY21 projected shortfall. For a little background information, I just would like to say that in May of 2018, the former Board of Public Works members voted and approved a series of water and sewer rate increases in both water and sewage usage fees that would roll out as a 25-cent increase in FY19, a 10-cent increase in FY20, and a 10-cent increase in FY21. In recent discussions, it's been determined that the rates that were scheduled to go into effect for FY21 on July 1st in 10 cents in the water and sewer were not expected to cover the increased DPW budget from FY21 to FY20, from FY20's numbers. Also, in discussion with Greg, he indicated that he felt that the water side of the DPW could probably get by on the 10-cent usage fee increase that was scheduled for the water fees, and that it would be beneficial to make up the shortfall and direct it towards the sewer side of the DPW to fund planned infrastructure projects. After that, I personally worked up 5 different rate increase models that would have an impact on users ranging from 5% of their total bill to 10% of their total bill annually. I've been working with Greg and discussed them. I then forwarded 3 of those rate sets to Ty and Bond for a more detailed analysis. Excuse me. The rate options as I presented them, rate option number 1, which would result in approximately a 6% net increase to an average user's bill with a base sewer fee of $8.75 and a usage fee of $5 per 100 cubic feet. Rate option number 2 was a 7% net increase in annual water sewer bills, $9.25 for the quarterly use base fee and $5.05 for the usage for 100 cubic feet. Rate option number 3 was an 8% net increase in annual water sewer bills with a base fee of $9.75 a quarter and a usage fee of $5.10 per 100 cubic feet. We will get through all these. I have slides that detail all the numbers. Ty and Bond then used the rate model dashboard that was developed for the water, sewer, and stormwater rate evaluations presented to the BPW in October 2019. These models were updated with FY19 data and FY20 and 21 budget numbers. All the assumption and methodology in those models are explained in the October 2019 report. I'd now like to open it to the board. I forwarded these documents to the board yesterday for their review. We're going to do basically a Q&A for the board members to ask me and Mike for any input and help them digest the numbers that we've prepared. After that, I'm going to open it up to public comment on the rates as presented. Questions will be addressed to the board. The board can comment on them, or we can request input from Ty and Bond or any of the other city officials present. So that is the rough outline. Let me see, I should be able to share my screen. Right. Are you able to see my desktop?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, Mike, would you like to give any background on the modeling that we used?
Yes, make sure I'm not muted.
Yep.
Let me just. The rate models that are presented follow a fairly simplified checkbook approach where the expenses are taken from either historic actuals or budgets, and we project them forward based on past experience and on the actual history. And then the revenues are projected using a combination of projected water usage for sewer and water is in place at the time. And we compare the two by subtracting the expenses from the revenues and to determine the net revenue. And from there, identify whether rate increases are warranted and by how much. And then look at a number of different scenarios to find the one that's the best fit for the community and the situation.
All right. So trying to see how the best way to walk through this is. So this first model that you're seeing on your screen now is basically the rates as they're set to go into place on July 1st. If the board does nothing in the next hearing, these are the rates that will go into effect. And the main number that, for comparison's sake, that we're looking at is this net revenue in FY21. As you can see, we will have a deficit at the end of, we are projecting to have a deficit at the end of FY21 with the current rate models. Down here, you can see how our retained earnings have been dropping. FY20, we took a bit of a hit because of some expenditures for the emergency outfall work and items like that. The first set of rates, and you can see it's all be similar. We'll be looking at this number in FY21, and then you can see the FY20 and FY21 rates here. This is the first model that will work out to roughly a 6% net increase in annual bills with a proposed quarterly base fee of $8.25 and a $5 per 100 cubic feet usage fee. This gets us a little closer. We're also still projecting roughly a $78,000 net revenue deficit, and a little bit better in our retained earnings at the end of it. The next one, which I was talking about, the 7% net increase, we're looking at a base fee of $9.25 and a usage fee of $5.05. This gets us pretty close, 42,000 deficit, same about 30% retained earnings. And then the 8% net increase is basically, I would consider a break even with the modeling, base fee of $9.75, usage fee of $5.10. How I broke this out to sort of a per user, how it would impact users. These are the rates as they're set to go into effect on July 1st. There's no increase in the base fee between FY20 and 21. For the water, we're looking at that 10% increase. In sewer, we had no base fee increase and a 10-cent increase in the usage fees. The way I broke these out, as a small user would use roughly 1,500 cubic feet per quarter. This is the breakdown of their FY20 bill. They pay about $517. FY21 with this model, they'd be paying around $529. It's a $12 increase. Roughly, it works out for a user of 1,500 cubic feet, 1,800 cubic feet, 2,400 cubic feet, and then sort of a small commercial 4,500 cubic feet per quarter. Roughly, what's set to go into place is about a 2.3 to 2.5% increase. the 6% net, the reason I refer to it as a 6% net, we're not looking at any increases in the water costs. We're going to let we would let the 10-cent increase go into place with a 25-cent increase in quarterly fees and a 40% per 100 cubic foot increase in usage. You know, we're looking at a 2.9 and an 8.7%, but when you work it out to the annual bill, that's small. I'll actually use the 1,800 cubic feet is what Ty and Bond determined to be an average user in Easthampton. We're looking at a $37 increase per year, which is about a 6.1 net increase in their bill. Similarly, for the 7%, no increase in water other than what's scheduled, looking at a 75-cent increase in base fee and a 45-cent increase in usage fees. That keeps both of those under 10% with a net effect on the average user going from 610 to 652.60. Again, a 7% net increase in their annual bill. Similarly, for the 8%, we have, again, no increase in water other than what is scheduled, $1.25 increase in the base water quarterly fee, 50-cent increase in the usage fee, works out for the average user of 1,800 cubic feet per quarter to about 7.9%. So that's the background work of what I, have presented to the DPW and to Ty and Bond for analysis. This time I'd like to take any questions from the board to digest what's been presented. See what you guys think.
So obviously this is separate than our whole discussion with the stormwater fee that we're going to readdress next week in the public hearing. Is that right, Thomas?
No, this is going to be presented in the public hearing next week. The stormwater fee and all that we're pushing out. That effectively the February public hearing sessions.
Okay.
De
Right.
facto close.
Right. Yeah.
This is just, we're looking at sort of a 1-year transitional sort of stopgap budget fix.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of the 25 and the series of 25-cent and then 2 10-cent rates that were put into place were put in 2018 with the assumption that before they went into effect, we would have done the rate increases that we saw in February. They were actually supposed to get done in 2019. So they were never really meant to be a long-term solution. They were sort of an interim solution while they worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's gotten pushed out. We've had a transition at the DPW. So in the current climate, I don't think we can move forward with that stormwater fee or stormwater enterprise.
No, I agree.
Okay.
Yes.
So this
Mm-hmm.
is separate from those discussions. As you can see in all of the proposed fee impact analysis is, for stormwater fee, those are zero still in both year. And
Okay.
that discussion we work on as a board and hopefully with some more public input over the
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
So in all these, being, well, we're all new people here.
yes.
Be disappearing over the next couple of years, no matter which model we use, according to these bar graphs.
I'm sorry, Greg. Dave, you paused for a second. I don't know if that was on my end or yours.
Oh yeah. I said, despite, so our retained this.
So you know you're muted.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Reset. Dave, you can start with your question. You said something over the next few years.
Over the next few years, despite these raises, potential raises, I see the retained earnings just disappearing off the bar graphs in fiscal year 22.
I want to be super clear. This is literally just to get us from FY, to finish out FY21 or FY21.
Okay,
Before the
Yeah.
end of FY21, we will need to have I want to have as a board, a long-term 3 or 5 year plan in place to stabilize the retained earnings and the capital improvements. So that's beyond the scope of what we're doing tonight and on next.
okay.
But
Okay.
my main thing, we could, in the do nothing model, we could do nothing. And then at the end of FY22 or FY21, our retained earnings would be basically eroded. We would have eaten into them, and we would be in a, when we were starting, when they were, the last board was starting their plan, they were sitting on a 40 to 43% retained earnings.
Right.
And in the intervening years, that's eroding down into the 30s, and if we do nothing, into the 20s or teens. So my main goal with these rates is to get through this year and to basically, tread water for the year, make sure the DPW can do the work that they need to do to keep critical infrastructure going and not put us in a worse position when we have to, revisit rates next year, that we're facing an even larger per user increase than we were in 2019. So
Okay.
that was
Yeah.
the goal of these rates. I know it's not a good time to raise rates for anybody. We're all nervous, and my company has furloughs, and I'm trying to save what I can. But if we do nothing, we really set ourselves up in a tough spot in a year or two. So it's a good observation. I also don't mean to dominate this discussion. I've just been living these numbers for the past couple of weeks, so I want to share as much as I can with all of you and the public as to my logic and where these rates came from and what I'm trying to do with them.
Very helpful explanation.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I just got a quick note that my Wi-Fi connection was unstable, so I'm just asking everyone in the house to do anything that they may be doing that's intercutting our bandwidth. All right, Austin, do you have any thoughts or?
No, you've clarified a lot there. I'm interested in seeing what others have to say about the difference between 6%, 7%, and 8% net impact.
Okay, Mike, do you have anything that you feel I omitted or you think would be beneficial for the board or public to hear?
No, actually, I don't often get to listen at these meetings, so that was very refreshing. I thought you captured it well. That the retained earnings, the background behind the bars, you can see that gold band. That's usually where we try to keep them. And although it's not by any means a universal standard, I try to maintain at least 20% of operating costs as the lower threshold. And typically, to the gentleman's comment about the retained earnings disappearing in the future, typically we would have rate adjustments shown for the whole period. And I thought it was important at this juncture not to do that because I didn't want to imply that everything else had been sorted out. So to your point, this is to look at FY21 and then I think revisit the rest of it, the capital planning and the structure and that going downstream. And then I guess the only other thing I would impacts are pretty close to the same, if you will, within the order of magnitude.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
All right, Dave, do you have anything else before I open it up to any other city officials that would like to speak on the matter?
No, I'm good right now.
All right. I'm going to open it up to any of our city officials that are joining us tonight. If you'd like to weigh in on your perspective of the BPW budget and situation, and the mayor as well. Yes, Mayor.
Yes, thank you. So clearly, as Board Member Fagnan mentioned, as Matt from Time Bond, I mean, there's some grave concerns here with just the flow of income. I think it's a great idea to put the fee conversation off and get us, you know, there can be a really thorough look at our integrated water and storm management plan. And, you know, the rate increase is needed, you know, very candidly, after 2021 might be different for a number of reasons. Certainly declining revenue, declining water use, sewer use, but also maybe some grant opportunities or revenue replacement from the state or federal government in 2022. So I like the approach that's presented tonight, and I think it gives this board, as well as the Department of Public Works, our treasurer and auditor who are on the call, some time to really kind of think this through and take these rates in the overall fiscal picture of the city. So I would just offer that comment. And thank you everyone on the board and Chair Malsbury for your work. Just really great stuff.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could just add one more thing that, and I apologize from the depths of my heart for not being at your last public meeting. There was a unavoidable conflict, but what I just wanted to make sure people understand is that discussion on the stormwater is relative to how to pay for it, not necessarily, the program itself is not optional, and that the city is under the permit requirements.
Yeah.
The stormwater utility was just an alternate way to fund it, and that the cost will be under the sewer, which is how it's funded now. Then the other option that's off the table was the stormwater utility. But either way, those requirements need to be met.
Understood. And a good.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I know, I just feel like I have to say it, sorry.
Oh, no,
Thank you.
everyone needs to hear it and remember that it's how we pay for it, not that we have the option of paying for it. So, but like I said, you know, the landscape between FY20 and FY22 is a very different world we'll be in. So, you know, the goal of this rate hearing that's coming up next week is really just how we get from the world we knew to the next step, and we'll see, you know, what funds are available locally and grant wise and federally. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, one of the stimulus mechanisms will be infrastructure investment, and we'll look at every option we have for that. So, you know, but for now we have some critical work that needs to get done, and we want to keep the DPW strong enough to be in a good position to tackle it when we have the opportunity. All right. This time, would anybody from the public like to speak? I guess I should also mention all the slides that I'm reviewing right now are available on the city's website. If you go to the forms and documents section of the city website, there's a public works folder, and then all the PDFs are available in the FY21 shortfall folder. So they'll be there for future review before the public hearing next week. I saw Jay has turned on his camera. Would you like to speak at all, Jay? Or are you just showing your face? You have the floor if you'd like, Jay.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you, this is, you have done an this is beautiful what you've put together, and it is a fair stopgap to get us through to the next point. So thank you for what you've done, and thank you for stepping up and doing good work for the committee.
That means a lot from you, Jay. Thanks. Do you have, I know this is all new information to you. The board's really only had it about 12 hours more than you have. But do you have any feelings as to?
Just comparing it with what was initially proposed at
Yeah, I actually, I may have that
and
available. I did a similar percent net impact, and I believe it worked out to roughly 12.9% would be the net impact of the February 2020 BPW recommendations. So
right.
another thing that I took to heart was, in that public hearing, we heard a lot. We heard both, why have we only been doing 10-cent increases that got us to this point? And then suddenly, why are we now doing a large increase, as an emergency? So this, these 6, 7, 8% really sort of, I tried to make them as the midpoint between the old 10-cent raises and the multi-dollar raise. And I know it's just a one-year stopgap, but if it makes the next stepping point a little less daunting and, sort of an onboarding. So that was my logic.
I saw it as soon as you started going through the numbers, and very good.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a few other members of the public. Would anybody like to speak? If so, feel free to unmute or turn on your audio. Just let us know you're here. If not, we are going to discuss it as a board. All right. Well, thank you all for your attendance. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you all a little better. Unless anybody would like me to keep this up for a discussion point.
Tom, if you could just scroll to the bottom, I think it's such good work that if you could just show the HCF uses from 45 at the bottom, and then.
Okay, for each one.
Yeah, I think people will really appreciate that.
Okay, like I said, these are all available as PDFs on the city's document website in the Public Works folder. There's a 21 shortfall folder, so feel free to look at them. But yeah, this is, I did try to keep them all very consistent. It was fun, I'll say, massaging the numbers to get it to work out at least this close. But this is the current rate as it would go into effect. Even the largest user would be seeing only a 2.5% increase. For the 6% net impact, what time bond had used in the example in the public hearing of a 4,500 cubic foot user, we'd be looking at a $91 increase in the 6% model and a 6.3 net increase.
Right, and that's for the largest user. So if you could also show the smallest user.
Not the largest user in Easthampton.
But the largest average. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're but you'll see that the 7% increase falls as 7% across the board. It was sort of an inflection point between altering the base rate, which is a little bit regressive and hits smaller users more if you increase it large, and a increase in the usage fee, which impacts larger users, obviously. So 7% was sort of the sweet spot. But for that, average, commercial user that uses 4,500 cubic feet, like a restaurant or something like that, 7%, they'd have $102, 7%, and that's 102 over the year, not quarterly.
Yeah, those are yearly, correct? Numbers?
Yep. Yeah, I was just doing,
Yes.
This year average of 4 quarters, or not your average, your total of 4 quarters for fiscal 20. You're looking at 1447. FY21, even with 8% increase model, they'd be looking at 1560, which is $113 over a year. So, a little under $10 a year and a 7.8% increase. So if we are done with the presentation. Let me get back to my agenda. Around. So I wanted to move from there to, in trying to get this done for the end of the fiscal year, so this effect can go into effect for July 1st. I would really like to try and have the outcome of the public hearing on the 25th be a vote, whether it's a nothing, a do nothing vote where we let the existing rates go into effect, but we all see what that impact would have on the DPW and the city. I didn't know if a way to streamline that. I mean, I've looked back and in previous public hearings, it's just been a single set of rates. I guess also the difference in the past is the DPW and a consultant have prepared rates to present to the board. I took this a little bit more hands-on and developed the rates myself and then presenting them to the board. So it's kind of a unique situation. We can vote tonight to, if you want to continue this deliberation for all three rates, we can move them all to the hearing. It's just going to extend the hearing. If we feel comfortable narrowing it down to two rates or even one rate that the board feels they'd like to move forward with, basically we would then take that to the public hearing, do a similar presentation of just the one or the two to sort of focus it. And then we would have a vote as a board after public comment and other input. I'm comfortable with all of them. It's just how much pre-work we want to do versus in the hearing. It's going to be the same amount of work. It's just whether we want to present all three of them to the public, or if we as a board want to decide now, to move forward with one or two. And
if you were suggesting two, which might you, as the leader of the spreadsheet, so to speak? Yeah.
I'd like to ask the mayor and a couple other city officials, what constitutes deliberation outside of the hearing? If I give my endorsement to one in this, does that short circuit the public hearing? Or, am I just expressing a view in this opinion and it can get carried into the hearing and debated there? Or I want to be as transparent as possible, but also as expedient as possible, but not short circuit anything. And also, you don't need to speak for it if you don't feel comfortable answering that.
I would not quoting or completely going by open meeting law or public hearings. I would say that a thorough discussion about the preference of the board and carrying the vote and a conversation about why you have the preference or why you hold the preference would be best during the public hearing, just for transparency, and also during a public hearing, how the public interacts with the board.
Right.
I think with, transparency and checking all of the boxes, especially in this time around COVID-19 and electronically, I think people are getting used to that method. But a thorough conversation of the pro and cons of what's before the board now with then a representation around a preference and why, with maybe cons and why not the other choice, I think should happen in the public meeting.
And now thinking about it, I think my original logic for trying to narrow it down was to limit tie-in bonds, not involvement, but the amount they had to put into it. So
right.
I was thinking I'd present my rough models of 3 to the board tonight, and then we'd select 1 or 2, and then I'd farm those out to tie-in bond to do a detailed analysis for the public hearing. But in conversations with Mike before this, we basically did all the modeling of all 3, so we're comfortable. So I guess there really is no benefit to narrowing it down since we already have the 3 models. So it was more just an attempt at cost savings, but once I got talking with Mike, it really once you had the model set, it was really just a matter of plugging in 2 more sets of rates and generating 2 more schedules. So basically,
Agreed.
that work is done. So there's really no benefit, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, to narrowing it to a vote. So.
And just remind me again, what is the date of the next meeting?
It is Thursday, the 25th at 6
Okay.
p.m. The agenda, Zoom link, and all the public notice is on the city's clerk website.
Yeah.
So I guess in this case, I'd welcome any more questions from the board as to the logic of the 3 rates as a whole. If you have any questions, we can go back over the time bond modeling. Just so I want you guys to have as much information as you can for the week, so you can think about it, come up with more questions, so we can have a really thorough discussion with the public on next Thursday. So I have the evening. Our city officials don't have to stay if they don't want, but I want to make sure you guys have all the information you feel you need to deliberate with yourself for the week, and then come back to the meeting, the public hearing, I should say. And also, Greg, if you have anything you'd like to contribute, please feel free,
No, I think, Thomas, you did a wonderful job putting these numbers and spreadsheets together for everyone, and I greatly appreciate you doing that.
Okay.
However the board decides to move forward, I'll make it work.
Thank you.
So Thomas and Mike, once again, this is fantastic. And it's, well, it's never self-explanatory, but it does explain itself very well. So Thomas, now you're inclined to propose to run out next week with all 3 of these potential into the public?
Yeah, I don't see any downside to it. We have the schedules prepared. I may spend a little time with Mike this week making a more simplified handout, sort of like we did for the last one, where we've got a fairly detailed pro forma analysis like this, and then we may do some sort of single sheet that just has the FY 19 through 21 on it, and then a simplified version of my average impact on a handout. So it's easier to digest. I just wanted you guys to have as much information as possible, and then we may, just narrow it down again to the 1,800 cubic foot person user and the 4,500 cubic foot commercial user on a simplified handout. But that would
and the cubic foot usage was coming up last time that we may have simplified that a little too much, but it looks like you've taken that into account.
I have, and before on those handouts, it literally just showed, a dollar amount for increase. I think it's a little more helpful to put that in context of a percentage increase, both, for each of the how much the individual fees increase, and then you also can see the net impact, which I think is really, the dollar amount and the percent amount that matters.
Yes.
When you're combining a matrix of rates that has a 0%, a 2.3, a 3.9, and a 9.8, what's that mean to me? And it's like, well, in the end, it means about $20.07 or something like that. I feel like a helpful way to convey the story that, the $20 a year, I know it's all a little tight, but if we all do that same sort of proportional input, we can keep the DPW in a good position. Is a narrative I want to try and convey. So I'll have another week to try and boil that down.
And next week, well, like I discussed or brought up earlier, we do have to remind the public that this is a stopgap. We're not, not everybody's going to realize.
Well, I think that's like it.
With everything that's been going on, I'm sure people have kind of lost track of some of the.
Agreed, and that's why it jumped out to me on the chart. That's why I think it's useful to have a couple years, sort of like FY 18 through 22 to show if we don't invest in the DPW through ratepayer,
Yep.
but we have a year or two,
Yeah.
of funding.
Yeah, and the mayor brought up some good points. Perhaps there may be some things available.
Right, but we can't
Nope.
rely on that. If we get
Right.
that, then that just means
Right.
we can do more things on the list a little.
Yeah. Yep.
There's still an endless, there's a 20
Mhm.
list that we've put together. So it's just like, painting a large bridge. When you get to the end of the bridge, you start painting the beginning again.
You get to start again. Yeah. Well, I'm comfortable with this.
I think the three options are a sound approach for the public hearing.
All right, then I will make a motion to forward all three rate sets to the public hearing for a full deliberation and public comment.
I second that.
All right, Michelle, could we get a roll call vote on the rates? I show that Michelle is here. She's no longer on her phone, but she has no audio or video connection. So I'm going to institute a roll call vote on this. I, as the chair, vote in favor. Austin?
I'm in favor. Aye.
David?
Yes, aye.
All right, motion carries to move all three rate sets to the public hearing. And before I close that, I should have asked if there was any public comment on the idea of moving three sets forward. I think it's a good maneuver. The last item on our agenda is the director's report. Greg, would you like to share anything with the board from the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks for the DPW. We've got everybody back from being on staggered schedules, so we're working on getting caught up from a lot of work that came in over the winter that needed to wait till spring, and things are going pretty well. Got a couple streets left to sweep, but we're getting to the end of street sweeping for the season. We had a water main breakaway to repair on North Hampshire Street on Monday. That done. Got a service done on Holyoke Street yesterday, so things are moving along really well. I've got the contractor coming to town next week to get started on the root removal project from the wastewater treatment plant outfall, and hoping to have that work complete and that pipe back online within 2 weeks.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That's it.
Any members of the board have any specific questions for Greg on any of the topics discussed tonight or his report?
No, it sounds like a busy time.
Yeah, there's a lot of work going on in town, and a lot of people at home. We're pumping a lot of water. We did have to put the water use restriction in last Friday, and we have seen a slight decline with that going into place, but it's still, there's a lot going on still, but we're doing well and keeping out in front of the projects, and a lot's happening. So it's all really good right now. Given the circumstances, everything's pretty good. So.
Understood.
Our street still looks pretty good with all those trucks going up and down it. So
What street was that?
Park and South with the all the trucks coming out of the new school project.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
good, Greg. That's what I'm saying.
There's a lot. They're moving a lot of earth over there on that project. It's pretty
Yes,
amazing.
they are.
I did talk to the foreman yesterday about running the sweeper a little further down Park Street, but they cut back on that a little because they had to reroute their trucks, so they're not going over there's a weight restriction bridge there near was it Ward Avenue and Park?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
yeah,
they haven't sending the trucks down, towards downtown that way. So they stopped sending the sweeper that way. But I asked him that if he could at least do the first, several hundred feet of Park after the south intersection. And he was receptive to doing that. I had noticed they had done it a couple times today.
No, I live right there. It looks good. It looks well. It looks very fine. Yeah.
Good to hear. They are patching those 2 test pits they dug. They are patching those by the end of the week.
Oh, yeah, I have hit those.
Yeah, I had them fill them in the other day, but you know, when you get a high traffic road like that, the cars fly through and it just blows the material out as fast as we can put it back in. So it just has to get some type of more permanent material in it.
Now I know they're there, so it's better.
Yeah. You find out quick.
Right. Okay, I'm good. Yeah.
All right, if everyone is ready and feel you're in a good shape for the week to meet back for the public hearing, I'd like to thank Mike for his time over the last couple of days. I really ambushed him with this request. You know, originally I was thinking it would be, I'd need it for the public hearing, but you know, he stepped up and double booked himself and answered my phone calls day and night. Really helped it. It was pulled together in about a day and a half. So thank you, Mike.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah.
All right. I'll make a motion to close the June 17th Board of Public Works meeting.
Second the motion to.
All right. If Michelle is back, can we have a call?
Yep, I figured out how to get my phone off mute again.
Good.
It has a mind of its own, I swear. Okay, so here we go. Thomas Malsbury,
Yes.
Austin Sanders,
Yes.
David Fagnan,
Yes.
All right.
all in motion, all in favor. Motion carries.
All right. I'd like to thank you all for your time, and I look forward to talking to you next week and actually making a plan.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
I'll be in touch with the agenda and more details as they come.
Awesome. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.